Storm Team 4, this is a weather update.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Adam Cooperstein, and welcome to our Storm Team 4 coverage of this massive winter storm heading in our way just ahead of the Christmas weekend. And this right here is a live look from Minneapolis right now. And the reason we're showing you this is because this is the same storm system, and it's pounding that area with winds and heavy snow and bitter cold, too. A winter storm warning, it's in effect there right now. And we want to hear from you throughout this broadcast. What are your questions about the storm and holiday travel in and out of our area? Well, an easy way to do it, just email us at tips@nbcuni.com, and we'll be able to answer as many of them right here on the air as soon as we can. Now, right now, we want to get to Storm Team 4's Dave Price to talk about what is heading our way and when we can expect things to change around here.
All right, first let's begin by taking a look at the 10-day forecast. That gives you a very broad understanding of what we're going to be going through over the next little while. As we take a look at the rest of the day today, a mix of sun and clouds. As we roll into tomorrow, especially the second half of the day, that's when we're going to see rain beginning to overspread the region, still with temperatures approaching 50 degrees on Friday. That's the brunt of the storm for us. Rain and wind, temperatures approaching 60 degrees in some areas. That's the first part of the day. Into the end of the day, some bitterly cold air comes in our direction, and we are going to see some significant changes to the forecast and an icy dose of cold air work in our direction as we roll on into Saturday and Sunday. As we take a look up to the north right now, that's where you see that bitterly cold air just beginning to make its way into the lower 48. You can see a squall warning actually in parts of the upper Midwest right now. As far as our winter weather alerts, these are for the duration of the storm. The start times differ as this low pressure system begins to work its way across the country. We have blizzard warnings in effect, pushing down into areas of Nebraska right now. As we work our way towards Chicago, we have winter storm warnings, a blizzard warning for the eastern shores of Lake Michigan. And as we roll through the next several days, this area is going to continue to expand with advisories, warnings, and watches as this system continues to make its way across the Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania, into New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. You can see nothing posted for us right now. As we take a look, though, all systems are go with respect to travel in our area right now. But this low pressure system, right now centered in eastern Colorado, is going to make its way across the country. As it does, its intensity builds. Behind that cold front where the low pressure system is riding, we have bitterly cold air that's going to fill that gap. We're going to inherit that. However, we are on the warm side of the front right now, so we remain warm and windy as we head through Thursday afternoon into Friday with those temperatures approaching the 60-degree mark. Once that front passes, once that storm system moves on, we're going to see those temperatures drop down and plummet. First, they're going to be halved. Then winds are going to be kicking up to upwards of 60 miles per hour, and wind chills in our area as we head into the holiday weekend are going to sink to below zero levels in some cases. So let's time it out in columns to begin our program today. Thursday, all right, that's when the rain moves in. I think if you are planning on traveling Thursday morning, with the exception of rolling through hubs like Detroit, Chicago, and Minneapolis, if your equipment isn't coming from there, going through there, or transiting in some way that region, you are going to be in the best position to travel if you can't get out today. Into Friday, heavy rains begin to roll through. We're talking about 1 to 3 inches of rain before this system is done, and those winds begin to pick up and howl through the afternoon, as I mentioned, upwards of 60 miles per hour. Those temperatures are going to rapidly drop through the day as we head into Friday, giving way to sub-freezing conditions, dry and sunny conditions for Saturday, but bitterly cold and dangerous to be out in over a prolonged period of time. So as we talk about getting away right now and air travel, let's go out to Rana Novini. She's live at LaGuardia Airport with a look at what's happening for those who are making the early getaway.
Yeah, and Dave, I have to say, for the most part here, so far so good. There are some delays. I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to show you what I'm seeing inside of Terminal B at LaGuardia Airport. We've been here about 4 hours or so, and this is pretty much what we've seen all morning and all afternoon. Steady flows of people, but no long lines, nothing crazy here. Some delays, but for the most part, flights have been on time. And we are seeing more delays in other parts of the country that are causing or could cause a ripple effect. People we talked to say they gave themselves plenty of time. They got here early, and then were pleasantly surprised to see how smooth things have been at LaGuardia this morning. Airlines have been encouraging travelers to call the airline and to change their flights to today, if possible, to avoid traveling tomorrow or especially on Friday when we're expecting the storm to come through in our area. And many airlines are actually waiving the change fees to help make that happen. Again, Friday expected to be one of the busiest travel days, and of course that is when the storm is right over the tri-state area. There are more flight delays in other parts of the country right now, mainly Seattle, Denver, and Chicago. And some travelers worry that their connecting flights could be impacted.
We're heading in the wrong direction, though. We head right into the storm, so we'll see what happens in Kansas City. We got a layover, so I don't know.
Yeah, that man was connecting in Kansas City, heading to Phoenix, so he's hoping that once he lands in Kansas City, that he won't have any problems getting to Phoenix, his final destination. So again, if you have a flight today or in the next couple of days, best to just call. Make sure, first of all, that your flight is in fact on time, that it hasn't been canceled. And also, if you can change your flight to sooner, that's recommended. Airlines, again, waiving the change fees. And we just checked, as of 1:45 this afternoon, there are 4 cancellations of flights out of LaGuardia and 102 delays so far. Adam, we'll send it back to you.
Good advice, Rana. One question. Do you sense that, and we've seen this over the last year or so develop, that because of remote work, people have spread out their travel so it's not all happening on 1 or 2 days as much as it would have in the past?
Yeah, I think I'm seeing a mix of, there are a lot of people who are back to work in person. So some people I talked to said they're just lucky that they planned to travel on this day, and had they needed to change their flight, they couldn't necessarily do so because they had plans, they had to work. So they just feel fortunate that their plans were to travel today. So I think in the next couple of days, we're probably going to see those people who didn't have a choice, didn't have the option to change their flight and fly out any sooner.
Yeah. For those people, it's going to be a rough go of it. We appreciate the update. Rana Navini there live at the airport. And let's go over to Storm Team 4's Dave Price again now to really narrow in and help us out understanding the travel forecast, because people are not only going in all directions, but they're also coming into the Northeast.
Right. And a couple of things to consider, Adam. Let's hold the map behind me for just one moment. Before we start talking about the weather picture, let me explain a little bit about the logistical issues that the weather creates. It's not simply, is it good enough to fly? Are conditions fine to take off and land? But you have all sorts of other issues. The time it takes to de-ice a plane, the time it takes to load a plane, the issues when you delay flights for several hours, when crews become what we call in the industry, or what they call in the industry, illegal. In other words, that they've been on shift too many hours and can't fly the equipment. The issues that are created when equipment is supposed to be in one place, but it's stuck in another. How do you play the game of catch up? And in a lot of circumstances, the only way to do that is through cancellations. And then it's hard to come up with the inventory in a short period of time, the seat inventory, to get people to where they need to go. That's with respect to air travel. With respect to USPS, with respect to UPS, Amazon, FedEx, remember, they are in that final rush in the next 48 to 72 hours to deliver packages all across the country. They are operating a fleet of airplanes and vehicles as well that have to transit this area by, again, roadway or airway. So we're going to run into some significant complexities with respect to all of that as well. So that's what happens when the weather is bad. Now let's talk about where it's going to be bad and when. We'll begin with holiday travel as we roll into tomorrow. We talked about the fact now that we're seeing heavy snows over Minneapolis, St. Paul. We showed you that live picture just a few moments ago. Temperature there right now, -4 degrees. That is before you factor in any winds. Visibility down. And we do have significant cancellations at the Twin Cities Airport right now, Minneapolis, St. Paul. As we roll on into tomorrow, the heavy rains over, the heavy snows, I should say, will be over Chicago, Chicago's O'Hare and Midway airports. We're going to see snow stretching all the way down to Oklahoma. Cool temperatures as you take a look at Dallas at 43, almost 20 degrees warmer in Houston. But that swath of cold Arctic air is going to sink well to the south. So tomorrow, trouble spots will include Chicago, Detroit, and areas in between, especially the eastern shores of Lake Michigan, where we could see blizzard conditions tomorrow. Tomorrow for us, it will be rain, which develops through the day, and the winds will pick up as the day progresses. Conditions will continue to deteriorate. As we get into Friday, this is going to be our issue. It is going to be troublesome with all the rain and the high winds to navigate both the highways and the airports. We get some relief with respect to precipitation as we roll into Saturday. But keep in mind, all of the rain which has fallen on trees and on power lines will potentially freeze. That's going to create issues for our utility providers. It's going to create slick conditions on porches, sidewalks, and roadways. And this is what we're going to see as we head into Sunday as well. Bitterly cold Arctic air. And we're going to see some wraparound moisture from that low pressure system as it begins to exit. Now, the snow forecast, that's more inland. As you can see, up and down as we head through, let's see, our nation's capital, and as we head into Virginia and down into the Carolinas, all right along the coastline, we are going to be clear of snow. But as you head to interior sections, you're going to see significant amounts of snowfall. A lot of people considering or making the trip up to ski mountains and areas in Massachusetts and Vermont and into Pennsylvania. Keep in mind, you're going to be going into temperatures which during the day on those mountains are going to be in the single digits or negatives. This is where frostbite is going to become an issue. Let's take a look at our northeast forecast so you're prepared at least in the next 48 hours for what we can expect. Let's concentrate on the pre-holiday numbers first. 49 degrees as we roll into tomorrow. I think the first half of the day looks significantly better than the second. We are going to see the rain begin to roll on in. It gets heavier as the day progresses, but you can see we're well above normal with temperatures close to 50 degrees. Friday, that temperature anomaly is even more significant, up to 56 degrees. That is in the first part of the day. We're going to be sub-freezing by the time we're heading home for dinner on Friday night. So a significant drop in temperatures as the day progresses and as winds pick up as that cold front moves through. And then as we take a look at the weekend forecast, it's as if we're in a different land. 22 degrees on Saturday. That's our high. Sunshiny skies. But keep in mind, whatever has frozen on the ground will not melt. 26 degrees on Sunday. This is weather where prolonged exposure can be treacherous, especially when you factor in those strong winds which are going to be pushing through. Not a lot of difference on the thermometer between New York temperatures and the numbers up in Vermont. But at the highest elevation at the mountains, that's where those numbers are going to be even lower. The winds are going to be significant, and we are in for bitter cold temperatures here, and we'll still be looking at some snow and some lake effect as we head to places like western New York. That's a quick look at our weather picture right now over the next, let's see, 48 hours, and then a look through the weekend. Adam, we'll send it back to you as people begin to prepare, and municipalities do as well.
Yeah, and it's a concern because we know not everyone heads out of town for the holidays. A lot of travel to see friends and family within the tri-state, and they are worried. People are wondering what the roads are going to look like, what's being done. So let's join right now with Thomas Meyer, the commissioner of Yonkers Department of Public Works, on the phone. Thomas, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us to help answer some of those questions. Let's start with this one for you. Is what's the work that's being done now to prep for the weather that's ahead going into this weekend?
Hello, Adam. Thanks for having me. Of course, we've been watching this storm all week long. We knew a nor'easter was a potential. We thought it would be mainly snow. Our snow trucks and salters are all prepared. We're ready to go. We're still going to monitor. We think, and the meteorologists are saying that it's mainly going to be a rain event for us with warm weather moving in. We're thankful for that. But we do know that once it rains and then we have a temperature drop the way we're going to have into the 17s and 15s, we're going to have to deal with some freezing issues. So we'll have our salters ready to go out. We'll have staff on hand. We usually get some trouble spots. Yonkers is a very hilly city, so we know which hills to hit. But we're concerned that all this rain and then a sudden drop in temperatures might create some freezing roadways.
Yeah, Thomas, is that the biggest concern from this storm for you all in Yonkers? And I know certainly it's not just for people who don't live in Yonkers. If you're passing through, you're going to Westchester, to the city, or even Long Island, New Jersey, a lot of similar weather in the areas closest to the city. Is the potential for icy roads your biggest concern?
From the public works standpoint, it is, because the roads are under my jurisdiction. We do have to worry about trees, the moisture freezing, tree limbs coming down, potentially trees coming down. We work very closely with the Parks Department and Commissioner Sansone to make sure that the streets stay open from any downed trees or branches. And then, of course, if those trees come down and take down any power lines, we're anticipating and preparing for any outages of electricity. Keep in close contact with Con Edison. They have a plan. They shared that plan with us this morning. They have additional staffing coming on. So I think between Department of Public Works and Parks Department, along with Con Edison, we'll be able to rapidly respond to any outages that may occur.
Unfortunately, it's not the first time we've had to deal with a major winter storm. What are some of the lessons, Thomas, that you've learned from storms in the past?
Well, the main lesson is be prepared for anything. Even though we're not talking about snow, we're thinking about it. If it doesn't snow during this storm, it won't be far along before we do get a storm with snow. So we're always prepared for that. Everything else is pretty much the same. When we get snow, the plows will be down. When we don't get snow, the plows will be up and the salters will just be on. So it's the same equipment, the same preparedness, the same men and women that will be out there driving the vehicles. With a rain event, we don't do any pre-treatments to the streets. If we know we're just going to get snow, we'll be out there and we'll brine. Most of, probably 60-70% of our roadways get pre-treated with a brine solution that stops the initial sticking of snow. But when we get in a mainly rain water event, that's pretty much useless. So we'll just be salting the streets probably late Friday afternoon into Saturday morning. And if the streets remain wet and moist and can freeze up, then we'll have crews on Christmas Eve.
Thomas, one of the big issues nationally has been worker shortages for the last year or so, then compounded by this tridemic right now where a lot of people are getting sick. How are your worker levels, your staff levels heading into this holiday weekend?
Our staff levels are 100%. We have nobody out sick, knock on wood. That doesn't mean we won't get a few people. And my cough is just from I just drank some soda and it went down the wrong way. It's not.
I've been there before. I understand. No problem.
So we're staffed at 100% level. Our crews come in whenever we call them. The Teamsters in Yonkers respond rapidly, so we don't anticipate any problem with manpower.
Okay, Thomas Meyer, we appreciate the update on what's happening in Yonkers, and we wish you a very happy holidays and a safe weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Same to you. Okay, now it's time to answer some of your questions, and there's still time to send in questions, by the way. And to do that, it's really easy. Just email us tips@nbcuni.com. You can see it right there at the bottom of your screen. And we'll get this is special, Dave. I hear people all the time in our newsroom asking you for their personalized forecast. And this is a special opportunity to do that here on NBC4. So the first question here is from Edgardo.
Yeah.
He says he's driving to the south on Friday, and he's wondering, what should he expect driving south?
All right. Well, there is good news. If you're driving to the south on Friday, there is a significant amount of rain you're going to run into until you get down to the Delmarva Peninsula, Delaware, Virginia, Maryland, in that direction. And then you're going to begin to dry out as you head into the Carolinas and Georgia and North Florida. That's the good news. If we can take away that banner for just 1 second, I just want to show you. As you get down to Central Florida, temperatures are going to be in the mid-60s. You'll wind up about 15 degrees warmer with a chance of thunder showers as you pull into Miami, if that's how far you're going. The key here is that this drive, this stretch of 95 down to D.C. is going to be a really tough run. This isn't just a little rain. It's a lot of rain, and it's going to be wind-driven. So that's where the challenge is going to be on the roadways, Edgardo, as you depart for the south, and we wish you a safe journey. So there's one question. We have any more? What should I expect? That's okay. There we go. Will it be too cold to travel on above ground transit? Here's the deal. You know what? We're New Yorkers. This is certainly cold, but it is not record-setting. This is not a 1,000-year storm, and we just need to dress appropriately for the weather. So keep in mind as we roll into Thursday. You know this picture. What does it mean to you? It means you need some good weather gear with respect to rain and wind. All right, that's number one. That's with breathable material because the temperature is going to be on the warm side, getting close to 60 degrees as we head into Friday, early Friday morning. Now watch, as we see the day progress, we'll see maybe a spurt of snow out to the west, and then into the afternoon. This is 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Watch that change. Into the late afternoon, we're at 6 o'clock. We're at 30 degrees in the city. Remember, just a few hours earlier, we were seeing temperatures in the upper 50s. Now we're looking at 26 degrees in Monticello. So what do you need to travel above ground? Well, certainly layers are going to be a key because in the morning it's going to be warm and rainy, and by Friday night it's going to be drier and freezing. And then into the late night, when you factor in these wind chills, it's going to feel like it's in the single degrees, and some areas may get down to the negatives. No, it will not be too cold to travel via above ground transit. You just need to be smart about it and dress the right way. If you have any other questions, I want to remind you through the program that it's easy. Just shoot your questions to us at tips@nbcnewyork.com.
Yeah.
NBCNewYork.com. That is the email to send.
Glad you mentioned it, Dave. Just wanted to point that out as well. More questions to get to, but still time to send those in. Tips@NBCNewYork.com. The next question right here comes from Julia, wondering what can be expected weather-wise on the Jersey Shore on Saturday.
Okay, so on the Jersey Shore, we're not talking about a rain event. We are talking about it's on Saturday. It's really more of a very, very cold forecast that we're looking at. Let's kind of zoom on in, give you a look at what we're expecting both at the end of the week and into the weekend. So here's the hour-by-hour forecast for you. As we head into Thursday, this is noontime. That's when the rain really begins to work through the area. This is about 6 o'clock. We take you to 10 o'clock, and no matter where you are, you're under warm, wet weather with winds then being layered in as we roll into Friday. 7:30 in the morning, scattered showers. There is a flood threat on Thursday. We're looking at a couple of different reasons we may see flooding. Number one is simply the volume of rain in the period of time in which it's going to fall. And the second issue is going to be wind, which is driving that rain into an area where there's just no place left to go. So we're going to watch for that. We're going to watch astronomical high tide, and we're going to watch where we are going to see heavy rains in the same regions where we typically are prone to localized flooding. We could see up to 2 to 3 inches as we look through northern New Jersey into sections of Westchester County. I think 1 to 2 is a general widespread number for the rest of the region. Could see some thunder out of this as we roll into tomorrow. And as we look to the north, actually, and the northwest, there's a flood watch in effect Thursday and Friday as we look to sections of our community to the north and west in locations like Sullivan County. Hour by hour, let's roll on into Friday morning now, all right? That's that spurt. This is not prolonged. That's that spurt of freezing weather. We could see some snow showers or a little icy mix push through the area. Now let's advance to the middle of the afternoon. This is 3 p.m. Watch our temperatures now in the 40s. This is 4 hours later. We're in the 20s and teens. And then as we head into Saturday, this is 4 a.m. early in the morning, single digits, wind chills below zero. Let's get rid of the banner for a second because I want to show you something as we take a look at wind gusts as well. There we go. As we head into Friday, that hour by hour, taking us into the early morning, we're going to see not only the rain, but the winds begin to ramp up. Close to 50 miles per hour. That's what our gust modeling says as we head to the midday Friday. Higher than that into the 50s as we head into the late afternoon, as temperatures are also dropping. Now, this is late at night. Remember, we're looking at single and teen temperatures and then gusts 20, 30, 40 miles per hour. So let's hold right here for a second. You're asking what coastal conditions are going to be like in New Jersey along the Jersey Shore on Saturday. Well, Friday, leading into the weekend, we have a risk of moderate flooding as we head to portions of the Jersey Shore, out to the island, coastal Connecticut. So we're going to watch for that. As we head into Saturday, winds are going to be out of the west, but we are still looking at some gusty conditions along the Jersey Shore. Feels like temperatures. Let's look at where we begin on Friday, 6 p.m. It's going to feel like it's in the single digits in the city, negative numbers to the north and west, and watch how the purple begins to overspread the area. This is Saturday, well, it's Friday night, it's midnight, but these are the numbers we're dealing with. 15 below as a real feel, 11 below in Sussex, 8 below in Clinton, 5 below at Newark, and then into the early morning hours on Saturday. This is tough weather. If you happen to be out, if you are a first responder, if for some reason you need to be outside, make sure you're dressed properly because this is where we go from cold weather to potentially dangerous weather if you're not dressed correctly. This is the afternoon on Saturday. Look at these numbers. It feels like we're in the single digits, maybe a little warmer than that, certainly at locations along the shoreline, but there's not a lot of variation. And up to the north and west, that cold Arctic air says, you know, we're going to make an impact, and they do. 7 degrees below zero as we head up to Monticello. So the weekend weather, 22 as our high temperature on Saturday, 25 in Montauk. Those winds are still going to be kicking up out to the east. Islip out to Montauk. Toms River right along the coastline. It's going to be certainly a very gusty day. Sunday, we see temperatures in the mid-20s, teens to the far north and west at elevation, dry conditions, and the worst of the effects of the storm should be over, but that cold Arctic air is going to be in place, and that's going to take us right through the beginning of next week. If you have other questions, by the way, I want to remind you that's why the banner is right below us. Send them to tips@nbcnewyork.com, and we're glad to answer anything we can either today or the next time we're on the air, which is tomorrow at 2. Adam?
Here's another one right now coming in from Ale, wondering, will there be thunderstorms on Staten Island this week?
There could be thunderstorms on Thursday. That's what we're going to watch for. I don't think those will continue into Friday, but here's our chance as we take a look out to the island, working well up into the Hudson Valley, out through Connecticut, all the way into Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and straight down the shore, and looking at inland locations to the south and west, all the way to Philadelphia. This is what it looks like on Thursday, and you can see we are going to see not only strong rain, but heavy winds, and there is a chance of convection. So as a result, there could be thunderstorms on Staten Island as we head into Thursday.
All right. I didn't send an email, but I have a question for you, Dave.
We're looking, by the way, there's a live picture of Staten Island as we say hello to everyone in that borough and the Staten Island Expressway. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it looks great right now, but we know things are going to change quickly. A lot of times with storms, whether it's tropical storms, there's a level of confidence, and you say, hey, things could change as the storm approaches. How sure are we of how this is headed now, and is there a possibility of a shift that could change the forecast last minute?
Great question, and to be honest with the viewers, these are the kinds of questions to be really forthright that the anchors often ask the weather people during commercial break. Adam, there's great model agreement, if you will. Right. You know, as we look at different models which kind of place the storm at different places and different intensities at different times, I think this is what we call a high confidence forecast now, rolling into everything from what's going to be happening in Chicago as we roll into tomorrow, to what we experience here, not only with the rain, but what we experience right through the weekend with that Arctic blast as well.
One more quick one. People have been asking me about this term. They've heard bomb cyclone. What does that mean?
Bomb cyclone, net, it's a rapid loss of pressure in a very short period of time. It's the intensity of the storm, the power of that low pressure system that we're all focused on.
Okay, we're going to feel that intensity coming up very shortly. Even though the weather is nice right now, we're going to be more prepared thanks to Storm Team 4. We appreciate that, Dave. We're going to break in across the day whenever necessary to give you updates today and, of course, going into the holiday weekend. You can also get updates anytime on NBCNewYork.com or on the News 4 New York app. And we'll have the latest forecast coming up on News 4 at 4. I'm Adam Cooperstein for Storm Team 4 and for Dave Price. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe, have a happy holidays, and a safe weekend. Take care.